legendary prize car that was released 3 years ago and hasn't been seen since. A car that is barely used at events and is rarely ever seen even in daily events. Now, what led to this legendary's fall in popularity, and why hasn't it been released since? I'm Yellowfin99, and welcome to Top Drives Theories. So, the car in question that has been forgotten is the RQ80 Porsche 911 GT3 RS 4.0. It is a prize car with 3.70 to 60, 91 handling, and 193 top speed from 2011. It has the driver's choice tag, which is pretty much the only thing that stands out about this car for it being a lower tier legendary. But we'll get into it, why it was forgotten for all these reasons right now. One of the main reasons why this legendary has been forgotten, or at least is not very well known with the Top Drives community, is its RQ level. So, it used to be RQ81, then it was nerfed down to RQ80, or I guess that's more of a buff, that's RQ80 now, since it's less RQ. But RQ80 legendaries, they aren't really that special. Most of the time they are worse than epics, because you can easily max out epics, unlike you can for legendaries. There aren't really that many RQ80 legendaries that stand out a ton, or that are on your wish list. So that's why most RQ80 legendaries go by forgotten, or they're well known because tons of people pull them all the time. But then when it comes to RQ80 prize cars, there's only two of them. There is the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 4.0, which is the legendary we're talking about, and there is the BMW M4 GTS. But the only reason why the BMW M4 GTS hasn't been forgotten is because it is in the manufacturer BMW, so there's a lot of cars that are just sort of generic, that have similar stats, and so that's why the BMW M4 GTS is a bit more remembered. It's also a German Renaissance car, so it is more new. It wasn't released in like the very beginning of the game, so it actually did come with like a Revolution update, and the car has a bit of heritage to it. Like, a lot of people know the M4 GTS. Now, I do know that lots of people like the 911 GT3 RS, but when you think of the 911 GT3 RS in Top Drives, you think of the green one, not the 4.0, which is the RQ80 one. Which is why this car is just overshadowed by the green 911 GT3 RS, because that car's an epic, you can easily max it out, and it's not a prize car. While the 911 GT3 RS 4.0 is a prize car, it's a legendary, and it's a low tier legendary. Which is why it is forgotten, as it's in the RQ80 category, and it's just overshadowed by the other RQ80 cars in its area. And for being the bottom tier legendary, and then the bottom tier of its RQ limit, it is one of the main factors that leads to it being a forgotten legendary, and a forgotten car overall in Top Drives. The next reason why this legendary is forgotten is because it is a prize car. So for prize cars, they have to be released in special challenges or finals, and that's where you're able to receive them. But most of the time, when it comes to finals, it's usually higher tier legendaries, which is why the only recorded evidence, really, of this car being released is there's 2 finals rewards videos on YouTube, and they were both published on October 8th, 2018. So that's basically about 3 years, a bit over 3 years ago, actually a lot over 3 years ago, from now, when this video is uploaded and when I'm making it. And that's a long time. It's like coming up on 4 years of this car being released. And it's just not a car that hasn't really had a final, or it's only had a final in the very beginning, in 2018, which was probably when there wasn't very many prize cars. Like, that's when the Revolution updates hadn't started rolling out, or at least I'm not sure the Revolution updates hadn't started rolling out yet, but that's where, like, the big updates hadn't started rolling out with all the high overpowered legendary prize cars and stuff that everyone wanted to get, and when a bunch of popular big updates started to come out. So that's why this car was only given out once, and it hasn't actually reappeared in a final since. There haven't been any other times, or like recorded evidence, of anyone getting the car in the future, since it's a prize car, or any events for it have happened. And that's probably why it isn't also seen in very many events, because it was only given out in 2018, which is when either players quit by then, or there just aren't that many OG players that are like from now. Like, now there's a lot of people playing Top Drives, while before there might not have been as many, and all the OG players that might have that car have probably quit the game, because it's been nearly 4 years since that car was given out, and they had to have at least a pretty decent garage since then to win that prize car. But that's why you don't really ever see that car very often. I've only actually seen it once in a daily event, which is in this screenshot shown right here. I actually was able to catch the car in, like, the wild, I guess, catch the car in the wild, and that's why its finals, like its prize car rating, it being a prize car, has led to it becoming a Forgotten Legendary, because it has to be used in a final event, and there aren't many people that want to compete for it in a finals, and it also hasn't been released in a finals since 2018. So that's one of the other main factors that leads to it being a Forgotten Legendary. The third reason why this legendary is a Forgotten Legendary, or a Forgotten car in Top Drives, is because of its manufacturer it is in. So, it isn't like a legendary like in Citroen, where they have only one legendary prize car, which is the Citroen GT, which is then kind of memorable because it's a brand with only one legendary prize car. But when it comes to Porsche now, Porsche has a lot of top-tier legendary prize cars. With the 918, they have the Moby Dick, they have the 911 GT1 race car, or even some of the lesser stuff too, which is the 959 Dakar, the Carrera GT, or the 911 GT1 road car. But then we have the 911 GT3 RS 4.0. Now, it's at the very bottom of the scale and one of the very bottom Porsche legendaries as well. It doesn't even have like great stats compared to the others too, it's just sort of mediocre. Like the RQ82 non-prize car has better stats than the 911 GT3 RS 4.0. Which just makes it like pretty forgetful that it's a prize car. Like, it doesn't really even need to be a prize car. I guess it is sort of like a special 911 GT3 RS since it's the 4.0, but still, it doesn't really have anything that makes it significant. Well, with the other Porsche Legendary prize cars, they sort of have something special to them. 918 Spider is overpowered, so it has to be a prize car. Moby Dick's like an old race car that also has insane 0 to 60. Same with this one, it's a motorsport car. Car with actually like a good amount of heritage, it's pretty special. And then another motorsport car. So, with the 911 GT3 RS, it doesn't really have anything significant about it. Especially since also the 911 GT3 RS from 2006, the green one, has the driver's choice tag as well. And it's an epic and a non-prize car, so you can easily get it and max it out. And then just looking at all the other Porsche epics too, like 4189 through 791. Just gotta put a few upgrades into it and it'll be better than the legendary stock. 911 GT2 as well, 911 Carrera RSR, and the GT3 RS, and then just a bunch more Porsche epics. Like even the Cayman GT4 is probably more memorable because it's an epic prize car, which are pretty rare, and it gets like special tags like Call of the Wild. And it's just got a bit more to it that makes it stand out in Porsche. Well, if you're just scrolling through Porsche, the only reason you actually probably do notice it is just because it's a prize car. But then if you're scrolling through Porsche, you're going to be looking at the epics that like you want to pull, or like the crazy overpowered legendaries that like you put on your wish list, like the 911 GT2 RS or the 962C. When you think of Porsche legendaries, you probably think of the 962C, maybe the 911 Turbo S because it's a really good four-wheel drive car, or like the 918 Spider as a prize car, or like the 911 GT2 RS. You don't go down here and look at more of the bottom tier ones, like maybe the Cayenne GTS, but it's an off-roader, which makes it a bit significant, or the 911 GT3 RS 4.0. Like, it's not really a car that's on your wish list that you want to pull, which makes it pretty forgetful. And it's in a brand with 89 cars, with a lot of cars that like you really want to have, and a lot of key cars to use, which is why it's overshadowed by its brand as well, and which is why it ends up being a forgotten car in Top Drives. So we have reached the end on if this car is a forgotten legendary and why it has basically been forgotten in the game, and its existence basically in the game has been completely forgotten. It is a low RQ, low tier legendary prize car that doesn't have much significance. It is a car that has only received one finals, which was 4 years ago based on the recording of this video and when the other like posted videos of it being released have happened. And then also its manufacturer, it is just overshadowed by the other prize cars and just other cars in general in its area. And now it is time to get on to what the theory part is, sort of, is if this car will make a return. Since we did have the new introduction of this new type of challenge series with Tri-Series, where you can win cars, it's a perfect way for them to give out lower tier legendaries and lower class prize cars, because it's a challenge system, so it more depends on your type of garage and what you have at the time. It's not going to be making a hand to compete against other people, because then you'll just run into people with max legendaries when it comes to other stuff. But now with the challenge system, you don't actually need max legendaries, you just need to have a good garage. Any garage you have, if you have a significant garage for the category, you can win the legendary prize car, which is basically then a perfect opportunity for people that do want to get this car to receive it. They don't actually have to fight against like whales and stuff who will have crazy max legendary hands, and they won't have a chance to actually get this car, which might be significant to them. Which is why then I feel like this car may actually make a return in popularity if it does ever get a Tri-Series in that new challenge system, if they continue to use that new challenge system sometimes for other types of prize cards. So let me know in the comments if you guys have actually forgotten about this Legendary 2. I didn't really remember it existed until I came up with the idea to make this video, when I'm like, oh, that car's in the game. But let me know if you guys have actually forgotten about it, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you actually did know this car was in the game. It just has like such a low significance that it does seem to be like overshadowed in a lot of areas. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like these type of videos, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that cool stuff. I'm Yellowfin, and this concludes Top Drives Theories Episode 2.